Hello students, welcome to the English class. Well students, for the last few days we have been recapitulating and revising some of the old chapters. In my last video lectures I have revised with the first lesson from Flamingo, the last lesson. So today we will be starting with simply the next chapter from Flamingo, that is Lost Spring, Stories of Stolen Childhood. Okay, story written by Anish Jung. Okay, this chapter is an excerpt taken from the author's book Lost Spring, Stories of Stolen Childhood. Well, this chapter is divided into two parts, continuing the author's first-hand experience with poverty and traditions prevailing in some parts of India. The first part describes the plight of the poor ragpickers of Simapuri, concentrating on a small child, that is Sahib. And the second part describes the miserable condition of the bangle makers of Firozabad, where again the concentration is upon boy Mukesh, right? And the characters, the main characters, these two people, that is Sahib and Mukesh, these are the two important characters in this chapter or in this story. Okay, and Anish Jung, we all know it is she is began her career as a writer in India, then later on she became a columnist for major newspapers in India. Okay, and this particular story, Lost Spring, okay, the stories of stolen childhood, it is this particular chapter or this particular book completely focuses on children from deprived backgrounds. Okay, so let's start with the chapter. The first part of the chapter is sometimes I find a rupee in the garbage. This is the first part of the chapter, and in this particular part we will be describing about Sahib. Okay, the author describes Sahib, about the slum people. Okay, how is the condition of the slum people? Okay, near Delhi. Okay, what they are all garbage pickers. Okay, they are all garbage pickers, or we can say rack pickers. Okay, so how these rag pickers are living their life, that is what the entire chapter, this particular part is about. So let's start. Why do you do this? I ask Sahib, whom I encounter every morning scrounging for gold in the garbage dumps of my neighborhood. Sahib left his home long ago, set amidst the green fields of Dhaka. His home is not even a distant distant memory. There were many storms that swept away their fields and homes. His mother tells him that's why they left looking for gold in the big cities where he now lives. I have nothing else to do, he mutters, looking away. Go to school, I say glibly, realizing immediately how hollow the advice must sound. There is no school in my neighborhood. When they build one, I will go. Okay, so here we find that in the first initial part of the chapter, that this author, she meets Sahib, and she regularly meets Sahib. Very often she had seen this particular boy, and she had seen this boy going around in the fields and taking up garbages and all. Okay, so this boy Sahib and his family hail from Bangladesh, but they have left their home a long time ago because storm washed away their fields and homes, reducing them to a state of abject poverty. Okay, which they left behind in the hope of finding a better life. Okay, so that is why they came to this city, okay, looking for gold. Now the author asks Sahib why he does rag picking and does not go to school. To this, Sahib replies that there is no school in his neighborhood. Okay, and and whenever any school will be built, he will of course go there. Okay, now this particular thing from here, the question that comes, what actually I am doing in these video lectures is concentrating on the questions and the important lines. Okay, now from here the question that usually come for 2 marks is that the question you can write down. Why did Sahib's parents leave Dhaka and migrate to India? Why did Sahib's parents leave Dhaka and migrate to India? I am repeating again. Why did Sahib's parents leave Dhaka and migrate to India? Now, which year these questions had come? These questions had come in 2014, okay, as compartment question. 2014 as compartment question, okay, and 2015 as a regular question, okay. So these 2 years this question had appeared, okay. So what is the answer? The answer is always is of course there. Sahib left his home long ago. Seta means the green fields of Dhaka. His home is not even a distant memory. There are many storms that swept away the fields and homes. His mother tells him that's why they left looking for gold in the big city where he lives now, because storms had washed away their fields and homes, so they were reduced to abject poverty, and so they left behind Dhaka and came to this city in search of earning better living, okay. If I start a school, will you come? I ask, half joking. Yes, he says, smiling broadly. A few days later, I see him running up to me. Is your school ready? It takes longer to build a school, I say, embarrassed at having made a promise that was not meant. But promises like mine abound in every corner of his bleak world. So what happened? The author jokingly promises the Sahib that she would open a school, and after a few days, when Sahib asks if the author had opened the school, the author is very embarrassed at having made a promise that was not meant to be fulfilled. Nevertheless, she realizes that such promises are made to these children almost every day. Okay. After months of knowing him, I ask him his name, Sahib-e-Alam, he announces. He does not know what it means. If he knew its meaning, Lord of the Universe, he would have a hard time believing it. Unaware of what his name represents, he roams the streets with his friends, an army of barefoot boys who appear like the morning birds and disappear at noon. Over the months, I have come to recognize each of them. So this particular point is also very much important. Here what happens, after some months of knowing him, the author asks Sahib his full name. The author notices the irony in Sahib's name, Sahib-e-Alam, which means Lord of the Universe. Now the author feels that Sahib would not believe what his name means. Okay, so unaware of the meaning of his name, Sahib roams with his gang barefoot on the streets. Okay, now from here one question is very important. This particular part, one question is very important. You may mark out the question or write down the question. The question is, describe the irony in Sahib's name. I'm repeating the question. Describe the irony in Sahib's name. This question had come in the year 2016, 2018. Okay, this 2 years this question had appeared. Okay, describe the irony in Sahib's name. So what is the irony? The irony is that lies in the meaning of the name itself. So where does the irony lies? Okay, the irony lies in the meaning of the name. So where does the irony lies? The irony lies in the meaning of the name itself. Okay, so according to his name, Sahib should be a king and enjoy all the luxuries of life, isn't it? But unfortunately, he is a barefoot rag picker who lacks even the basic necessities. So there lies the irony in the name. Okay. Why aren't you wearing chappals? I ask one. My mother did not bring them down from the shelf, he answers simply. Even if she did, he will throw them off, adds another who is wearing shoes that do not match. Okay. When I comment on it, he shuffles his feet and says nothing. I want shoes, says a third boy who has never owned a pair all his life. Traveling across the country, I have seen children walking barefoot in cities on village roads. It is not lack of money but a tradition to stay barefoot, is one explanation. I wonder if this is only an excuse to explain away a perpetual state of poverty. So moving across this country, the author has seen that many of the children, they walk barefoot. Okay, so one of the explanation is that it is a tradition and not lack of money. Okay, now Anis, that is the author, wonders if this is just an excuse to explain away a perpetual state of barefoot, or perpetual state of poverty? Is this just a kind of excuse that yes, this is a perpetual state of poverty? Now there is one question which is very important that usually comes is perpetual state of poverty. What is perpetual state of poverty? That is poverty going on and on and on and on. Okay, this is the circular motion. Okay, that is poverty is continuously going on in that particular locality or in that particular area. Okay, where there is no, what we can say, there is no steady increase, but there is a perpetual, means a parallel line. Okay, if you see, it is a parallel line of poverty. Okay, that is poverty is moving from one generation to another in a perpetual, in a continuous state. Okay, I remember a man from Udupi once told me, as a young boy he would go to school past an old temple where his father was a priest. He would stop briefly at the temple and pray for a pair of shoes. 30 years later I visited his town, and the temple, which was now drowned in an air of desolation. In the backyard where lived the new priest, there were red and white plastic chairs. A young boy dressed in a grey uniform, wearing socks and shoes, arrived panting and threw his school bag on a folding bed. Looking at the boy, I remembered the prayer another boy had made to the goddess when he had finally got a pair of shoes. Let me never lose them. The goddess had granted his prayer. Young boys, like the son of the priest, now wore shoes. But many others, like the rag pickers in my neighborhood, remained shoeless. Now here what happened, the poet is providing the author is providing an anecdote. Okay, an anecdote from Udupi. Okay, so what is actually told here? The author remembers a man from Udupi who, as a young boy, would pass a temple where his father was a priest and pray for a pair of shoes. Okay. Now, 30 years later, the author visited his town. Behind the temple, there was the house of a new priest. Anis noticed the young boy of the priest who arrived panting. Okay. He was wearing shoes. The writer was reminded of the boy who prayed that he should never lose his shoes. The goddess had granted his prayer, as most of the young boys there now have shoes to wear. As against this, the rag pickers in the author's neighborhood still remain barefoot. Okay, so here one question that comes very often, you can just mark it out here. This particular part is not that important, but one question had come only once, that is, which incident does the author remember about Udupi? Which incident does the author remember about Udupi? Okay, this had come only once in 2013. Okay, before that or after that it had never appeared. So you can just go through it. You already know the story, so the story is not very difficult for you to remember. So if this question comes, you can easily write from this particular part where the priest had where an old priest was replaced by a new priest, and the old priest's son could not afford a shoe, but the new priest's son could afford shoes. So what does it mean? Here it means steady rise of or steady development of the priestly class. But for the rag pickers, okay, but many others, like the rag pickers in my neighborhood, remain shoeless. Means their grandfathers also were shoeless, their fathers also were shoeless, they were shoeless, their next generation also will be shoeless. But this is not the case with the priest. Okay, where they are rising, their condition is developing. Okay. My acquaintance with the barefoot rag pickers leads me to Simapuri, a place on the periphery of Delhi, yet miles away from it metaphorically. Those who live here are squatters who came from Bangladesh back in 1971. Sahib's family is among them. Simapuri was then a wilderness. It still is, but it is no longer empty. In structures of mud with roofs of tin and tarpaulin, devoid of sewage, drainage, or running water, live 10,000 rag pickers. They have lived here for more than 30 years without an identity, without permits, but with ration cards that get their names on voters' list and enable them to buy grain. Food is more important for survival than an identity. If at the end of the day we can feed our families and go to bed without an aching stomach, we would rather live here than in the fields that gave us no grain. say a group of women in tattered saris, when I ask them why they left their beautiful land of green fields and rivers, wherever they find food, they pitch their tents that become transit homes. Children grow up in them, becoming partners in survival, and survival in Simapuri means rag picking. Through the years, it has acquired the proportions of a fine art. Garbage to them is gold. It is their daily bread, a roof over their heads. Even if it is a leaking roof, but for a child, it is even more. So, what is here? It's a long paragraph, but this paragraph is extremely important. What we can say, very important, because from here only part A questions come. That is, this particular question, sometimes I find a rupee in the garbage. From this first part of the question comes mainly from here. Okay, so here it is said garbage is gold. This is very much important in this particular part. Garbage is gold. Okay. What is actually said, the author's acquaintance with the barefoot rag pickers takes her to Simapuri. Simapuri is a place on the periphery of Delhi, means very much near to Delhi, but it is far away from Delhi. Now this line is very important. Okay, a place on the periphery of Delhi yet miles away from it, metaphorically. What does this mean? It means that according to geographical location, Simapuri is very much near to Delhi. But if you see the financial condition, then Simapuri is far away from Delhi. Okay, it is quite far away from Delhi, because Delhi is a very affluent and a flourishing capital of India, whereas Simapuri is a deprived place in India, which shows the abject poverty of the country. Okay, now here it is said that this place is home to 10,000 other shoelace rag pickers like Sahib. Okay, they are all Bangladeshi refugees who came here back in 1971. Now they live in very poor condition in mud structures with roofs of tin and tarpaulin. The place has no running water facility and no drainage. Okay, the rag pickers have lived here for the past 30 years, some even more, without identity, yet they have valid ration cards. Okay, now not having an identity does not bother them if at the end of the day they don't sleep with empty stomachs, right? They prefer to live here rather than in the fields at home, which give them no grain. Okay, now because they who once lived in the beautiful land of green fields and rivers are now compelled to pitch their tents wherever they find food. Now children are born in them and become partners in survival, and survival in Simapuri means rag picking. Over the years, rag picking has become an art. Garbage is gold to these rag pickers. It is their only support and means of income. Sahib tells the author that sometimes he finds a rupee, even a 10 rupee note. Anis realizes that garbage holds a different meaning to both parents and children. Okay, for parents it is the source of their livelihood, providing them with food and shelter. For children it is wrapped in complete wonder. Okay, now from here the question that has usually come, you just mark out the question. This particular part is very much important. Write down the question. The question is, in what sense is garbage gold to the rag pickers? In what sense garbage is gold to the rag pickers? Okay, so this question is very important. The question can come in different way. It can come like, what did garbage mean to the children of Simapuri and to their parents? Or garbage to them is gold. Why does the author say so about the rag pickers? This way also the question come. Or what kind of gold did the people of Simapuri look for in the garbage? Okay, this way the question can come. Now how many years this question had come? This question had been repeated very, very often. First it came in 2008, 2010, 2014, 2015, okay, next 2017, 2019. This question had been repeated many times. Okay, so give importance to this question. Okay, 2008, 2010, 2014, 15, 17, 19. Okay, so you can see after 15, 16 it did not come, then again it came in 17, 18 it did not come, again it came 19. Okay, so like this question had been repeated. So you know what is the question? The question is, the people of Simapuri look for items in the garbage which can be traded for money, meaning gold, as it helps them earn their daily bread and have a roof over their heads, isn't it? For a child, garbage may mean something wrapped in wonder, whereas for the elders it is a means of survival. Okay, so that is the interesting thing here. So that is what is here. Garbage is a goal for these poor rag pickers. Okay, because it is a kind of earning for them. Okay, so it is completely earning for them. And how is it different for the two people? Because for children it is a means of it's a kind of wonder, and for the elders it's a kind of means of survival. Okay. Okay, students, today I have done till this much, but that is I sometimes find a rupee. This one I have already done. For the children it is wrapped in wonder, for the elders it is a means of survival. We have done till this much. In my next video lecture I will start from one winter evening. Okay, so we will be proceeding like this, and we will try to complete this lost spring. Okay, and recapitulate and revise the entire chapter. So please go through the video lecture, and if there is still any doubt, I would request all the children to please feel free and clarify your doubts from me. Okay, children, then study well. Thank you all.